Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You're back once again with the Economancer. Today, we're going to be talking about the windows to heaven, the relational and communication dimensions of icon veneration. As a Christian, have you ever wondered why icons play such an essential role in our faith? To some. In this video, we will delve into the heart of the matter and explore why icons are considered a necessary condition of Christian belief through the integration of Luhmannian communications theory and Nickolaos Loudivikos' concept of being. In Dialogical Reciprocity, we will discover how icon veneration facilitates communication and deepens our relationship with God and the saints. So join us on this journey as we explore the importance of icons in our faith and how they serve as windows to heaven. So I know there's been a lot of controversy recently in the Christian apologetic community over icons. Many defenders of the Orthodox tradition push back on historical accounts of icons and develop arguments from the Holy Scriptures. However, I'm no theologian, but I think I can offer a novel method for Protestants and even Roman Catholics to understand the necessity of icons. First, let us discuss one of the main arguments against icons. We are commanded in the Holy Scriptures that you shall not make for yourself an idol, whether in form of anything that is in heaven above, or that is on earth beneath, or that is the water under the earth. It's Exodus 24. This commandment is part of the 10 Commandments given to the Israelites by God, and it is meant to prevent the worship of physical objects or images as gods. However, in the Christian tradition, icons are not seen as gods or objects of worship, but rather as visual aids to help facilitate prayer and meditation, and as a means of expressing devotion to Christ and the saints. The use of icons represents and depicts the events of the life of Jesus, the saints, and the central mysteries of the Christian faith. Icons are used similarly to other religious symbols, such as the cross. They serve as a visual representation of the presence of God in the world and the church. Christians began to venerate icons as far back as the 1st century as a way to express their devotion to Jesus Christ, the saints, and as a means of representing the central mysteries of their faith. The use of icons in early Christians emerged to depict the events of life of Jesus, the saints, and the Holy Trinity, and to provide a visual aid for prayer and meditation. This practice developed over time and gained widespread acceptance in the Byzantine Empire, where the use of icons became an essential part of the liturgical and spiritual life of the Church. The Seventh Ecumenical Council, held in 787, confirmed the legitimacy of the use of icons in the Christian tradition and defined the guidelines for their veneration, emphasizing that icons are not to be worshipped in and of themselves, but as representations of the persons they depict. The use of icons has remained an essential part of many Christian communities' spiritual and cultural heritage, serving as a visual expression of faith and devotion. The use of icons in the Christian tradition is thus not seen as a violation of the commandment against idol worship, but as a legitimate expression of faith and devotion. Now, let us develop an argument that does not rely on historical accounts or reliance on holy tradition. Although I do find these important, I do not think they are persuasive to those outside of the Orthodox Church. So, we're going to start with Nickolaos Loudivikos' theory of communication. It posits that communication is the basis for all social systems, including religious ones. According to Luhmann, communication serves as the foundation for establishing meaning in social systems and helps ensure the stability and continuity for those systems. In the context of religion, communication takes the form of religious messages and symbols which are used to convey the beliefs and values of the faith community. Now let us look at Nickolaos Loudivikos' concept of being in dialogical reciprocity. Dialogical reciprocity asserts that being is not a solitary or isolated state, but rather is constituted by the intersubjective relationships between individuals. Dialogical reciprocity is the idea that a person's sense of self is not just from within themselves, but is created through interactions and relationships. In other words, people are not separate individuals, but are connected and shaped by the people they interact with. According to this concept, being is not a static or self-sufficient entity, because it is always in a state of dynamic exchange and reciprocity with others. Combining these two frameworks of Luhmann's communications theory and dialogical reciprocity as being, I plan to develop a Christian ontology that posits that the nature of reality and being is constituted by the communicative and relational exchange between God and humanity. In other words, God and people connect and interact with each other, and this interaction helps us understand what it means to be authentic and alive. In this context, God can be seen as the source and foundation of all beings, and human beings are created in God's image, reflecting and participating through communication in the divine life. Therefore, the relationship between God and humanity can be understood as a dynamic and reciprocal exchange of love and grace in which God communicates and reveals himself to humanity, and humanity responds in faith and obedience. This relationship is not just a matter of individual experience, but it is also established and sustained through communal practices and the symbols of the faith community, such as worship, prayer, icons, and the sacraments. For example, in the Orthodox Christian tradition, the saints are revered as models of faith, holiness, and spiritual intercessors who can pray for and support the faithful on their spiritual journey. Through their intercession, the saints can be seen as mediating the grace and love of God to humanity and serving as a source of inspiration and encouragement for the faithful. Similarly, angels are also seen as beings in communication with God, serving as messengers and intermediaries between God and humanity. In this sense, angels can be seen as playing a role in the communicative exchange between God and humanity, conveying God's messages and guidance to humanity, and serving as protectors and guardians of the faithful. In all of these relationships, communication plays a central role in establishing and sustaining the relational exchange between God and humanity, and in shaping and expressing the beliefs, values, and practices of the Christian faith. Thus, Christian ontology, based on Luhmannian communication theory and Loudivikos' concept of being and dialogical reciprocity, can be extended to include the relationships with other people, angels, and saints, as with God. In this sense, a Christian ontology based on Luhmannian communication theory and Loudivikos' concept of being and dialogical reciprocity can provide a framework for understanding the nature of reality and being from a Christian perspective, emphasizing this relational and communicative dimension of the faith and the central role of the church as a mediator of the divine life to the world. So based on this framework of communications, one could argue that the use of icons in the Christian tradition can be seen as a form of communication, serving as a visual and possibly auditory representation of the beliefs and the values of the faith community. The veneration of icons can be understood as a necessary condition for Christians because it facilitates the communication within the religious community and helps to establish a shared understanding of the mysteries of the faith. In Orthodox Christianity, icons are considered windows into heaven. This is because icons are believed to depict and present the spiritual reality of the saints and the angels they represent, and of Jesus Christ and of the Holy Trinity. The Orthodox Church views icons as a tool for spiritual contemplation and prayer, allowing the faithful to enter into a deeper relationship with the divine. The use of icons in the Orthodox Church is rooted in the belief that God became human in the person of Jesus Christ, and that the incarnation of Jesus Christ makes it possible to depict and venerate the divine in a material form. Through the use of icons, the faithful can gaze upon the beauty of the blessed and enter into a more profound spiritual encounter with the holy persons in the icons. In this sense, icons can be seen as a visual manifestation of the gospel, illuminating and presenting truths of the Christian faith. And by venerating the icons, the faithful are not worshiping the material object, but rather participating through communication in the spiritual reality depicted by the icon and entering into a deeper relationship with the holy. For example, the use of icons in liturgical settings can serve as a visual representation of the presence of God in the world and the church, helping to convey the message of divine love and grace to the faithful. Similarly, using icons as objects of personal devotion can connect the individual with the holy through communication, helping to establish a sense of intimacy and closeness with God. In this sense, the veneration of icons can be seen as a necessary condition for Christians because it facilitates the communication within the religious community and helps to establish a shared understanding of the central mysteries of the faith. The use of icons in the Christian tradition is thus not just a matter of aesthetic or cultural significance, but a critical component of the religious communication system that helps ensure the faith community's stability and continuity. The veneration of icons can also be seen as part of the Christian tradition of communing with the saints. In the Christian tradition, the saints are understood, as we stated earlier, as spiritual guides and intercessors who help this mediation process for God's presence and grace in the real world, or in the world, and makes it the real world. Through the veneration of icons that depicts the saints, Christians can connect with the spiritual guide and draw on their intercession and support in their spiritual journey. The use of icons in this context can be seen as a form of communication that helps to facilitate this connection and provide a visual representation of the presence of the saints in the lives of the faithful. The veneration of the icon serves as a way of expressing devotion to the saints and is a means of seeking their intercession and guidance in matters of spiritual and earthly concern. In this way, the veneration of icons as a part of the Christian tradition of communing with the saints can be seen as a necessary condition for Christians who wish to establish and maintain a connection with the spiritual dimension of faith. The use of icons in this context serves as a visual reminder of the ongoing presence and support of the saints in the lives of the faithful and helps facilitate the experience of spiritual communion and intimacy with the saints. To summarize, icons are not objects of worship, but serves as a medium of communication and connection in the Christian faith. The use of icons facilitates communication between the faithful and God, the saints, so on, helping deepen the believer's relationship with the divine. This relationship is made possible through understanding Luhmannian communication theory and Nickolaos Loudivikos' concept of being in dialogical reciprocity, which highlights the importance of communication in building relationships. The communicative function of icons allows the faithful to connect with the divine and move closer to God, strengthening their faith and spiritual practice. This argument emphasizes that icons are not objects of worship, but serve as tools for the communication and connection, and are therefore a necessary condition for Christian belief. Without icons, our ability to communicate and maintain relationships is weakened, both on earth and in heaven. Icons serve as the adhesive that keeps us bound together. Therefore, I hope my argument is persuasive enough that all Christians can understand the communicative necessity of icons.